Good morning, good evening, and good day. Thank you so much for watching Attack Power Gaming. Today, we dive into the best Assault Engineer CQC infantry of the Allied faction. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's completely free to you. Let's dive right in. So here we are with the Allied Engineer / Assault Infantry, which we're going to rename CQC, Close Quarters Combat Infantry here. And you'll notice right off the bat that there are a lot more options here than there was in our Axis video, because the Allies just tend to have a lot more access to CQC firepower than the Axis do in a general sense. And again, that's a generality, but for the most part, these guys dominate at closer range and the Axis do a lot better at longer range. So we see a whole lot of squads here, and we're going to have to dive right in to get into this. And of course, there are some squads that are not represented here. I tried to cherry pick the best of the best here and the strongest and most deadliest, not necessarily the most efficient in terms of cost. Understand, these are just the most powerful straight up on the data here. So first, we're going to go with an OG unit, the Sapity Rocks. Found in only a few Soviet divisions. We have 4 PPSHs, we have 5 semi-automatic SVTs, 2 DP-28 light machine guns, and a flamethrower. These guys are really, they're a 12-man squad as well. These guys are really a kind of jack-of-all-trades infantry, because you have these double machine guns and the semi-automatic rifles. These guys can hold their own against rifle infantry. These guys can actually, you know, pound for pound, fight against other rifle infantry at ranges above 100 meters. But where this thing really starts to shine, of course, is when you get up closer and you have this flamethrower gets to get involved along with your PPSHs, and you still have the power of those semi-automatic rifles. So that's really where you want it to be. But again, if this unit gets caught out kind of thing, it's nice that it actually can sort of hold its own using those light machine guns. Remember, the light machine guns do not fight at 100 meters or less range. Next up, we have out of the 43rd Reserve Army, the Avtostrafniki officers. These guys are a 15-man squad of 5 PPS 43s and 10 PPS Hs. And then they have an anti-tank grenade just for helpsies there. These guys are very, very deadly. There's not really any squad that's equivalent to these in the game. It's just 15 submachine guns. They do have the fanatical trait as well, which is extremely useful, especially in CQC fighting, because they never surrender, and you can basically retreat them and have them back into action pretty quickly and not have to worry about them getting, like, you know, instantly suppressed by other CQC infantry and then having them surrender. So that's what makes these guys really good. Their weakness is they don't have anything that, like, really takes chunks of damage out of the enemy. So, like, they don't have a flamethrower or grenade to, like, really take large chunks of the opponent's health. You kind of have to rely on those submachine guns to really whittle them down. Next, we have a new unit out of the Italian DLC, the Arditi. Okay, and they have 3 Berettas, which are one of the best, if not the best. Well, it's right up there next to the Thompson submachine guns in the game. Then we have the Lee Enfield rifle, bolt action, 2 automatic rifles in the Bren, and some TNT, which is essentially the equivalent of the grenade. They are also fanatical at 10-man strong. These are a solid option. They are definitely not the best on this list for sure. When you're at really close range, you do get to use all your weapons. I mean, really, if it weren't for the fact these were automatic rifles, I probably wouldn't even have these guys on here. But because of this automatic rifle inclusion, you do retain a lot of your close range firepower. They're very similar to the Sapity Rocks, where you can see 2 machine guns, 5 rifles. These guys do have 2 less guys. You don't have a flamer or, you know, that extra submachine gun there, but they pick up fanatical. So, you know, plus minus there, they're both very solid. So, you know, I think in a vacuum, I would probably still take the Sapity Rocks, because the flamer can be really, really strong, like if I'm using this as a CQC unit. But these guys are definitely very strong, very solid units overall. Coming down here, we run into the Americans, and I believe they're out of the 2nd Infantry. I want to say the 2nd Infantry, and very solid group. They have 2 M2 carbines, which is kind of like their submachine gun of sorts. They have 9 semi-automatic rifles, the M1 Garand, one of the best in the game. You have the flamethrower and a bazooka. So 12-man squad. These guys are not, these are more like rifles that happen to have a flamethrower, if I'm being honest. This is a line rifle unit with a flamethrower on it, which does obviously make it pretty solid at close range, but it's not a dedicated CQC unit. It will probably lose out to the units that are full-on dedicated to CQC fighting when at CQC range. But the nice thing is then you do get these semi-automatic rifles, which do, you know, reach out quite strong out to 500 meters, and more importantly, you get a bazooka, which I mean, having that kind of AT on your infantry is always fantastic. So this is a very good unit. It is 35 points, so it is expensive. But in terms of being an all-around very good unit, the Demolition Group's definitely up there. In terms of CQC, it's actually a little bit lacking overall. Our next is out of the DFL, their Legionary Squad. And they have 3 Thompsons, 8 bolt-action rifles, 2 BAR automatic rifles, and your TNT at a 13-man strength with Fanatical. These guys are very, very dangerous. They also only come in at 2 vet, and that this is not showing their veterancy bonuses. So these guys are very strong. Thompsons are some of the best submachine guns in the game. If I can scroll up here, see if we have the Berettas. You can see the Beretta has 1.2 damage, while the Thompson has 1.5 damage for both having 3. So that is a big deal. The difference, the reason the Beretta is a little bit stronger is that 150 meter range over the 100 meter range of the Thompson. So that's the difference there. You know, you do get these BARs, which are automatic rifles once again, which makes these units able to use all their weapons at all ranges. So that's definitely really good. I shouldn't say all ranges, at CQC ranges. So that does make the Legionaries very strong at close range. Of course, they have the TNT, and they also get 4 instead of 3, which is just a small thing to note. If you look up here, usually it's 3. Usually they have grenades are 3. So that's an interesting little thing there that they do get. I'm going to actually scroll down here really quick. These are the Legionary Sapity Pioneers, okay, which are also out of the DFL, 5 points more. It is a 10-man squad. They have 5 rifles, 3 Thompsons, and double flamethrower. And as I mentioned in the Access video, double flamethrowers are extremely strong. They do very, very well. And these guys will definitely win very handsomely at any really CQC combat. These are way more CQC combat geared than this one. You can see it does not have the machine guns. It has less rifles. So this one needs to be in the forest, but it also still hangs on to that really powerful fanatical trait, making them really, really strong. Next up, we have the Sturmoviki Rocks right here, which is an 8-man squad with 6 PPSHs and double flamethrower. Basically the same. Well, not actually, it's not the same. It's similar to the Romanian one we looked at in the Axis. The Romanians had 10 men in their squad, though, while the Sturmoviki Rocks only have 8. So that is the difference, but these guys will dominate most CQC combat because of that double flamethrower along with those submachine guns. Very strong unit. Next up, we have the Oxenbucks out of the 6th Airborne. We have 3 Stens, which are, it's not a very strong, that's not one of the better submachine guns in the game. We have bolt-action rifles, 2 Bren automatic rifles, and our grenade with the Raider trait. Just a reminder, the bonus of the Raider trait, A, they work better when they get surrounded, like behind enemy lines, and B, more importantly, they actually get higher stealth. So you notice here, very good stealth versus the other guys with good stealth overall. Oxenbucks are very dangerous. They're very good. You'll definitely, if you're a play 6th Airborne, when you see these guys, you're going to be like, ah, crap, and you're going to want to run away. But they are definitely not one of the strongest units on this list. Their loadout is not ultra powerful, but you do, again, get these automatic Bren rifles, which means they are going to fire within that 100-meter range, which makes them useful at CQC. So we already talked about the Legionary Sapatis, and then we have the Moskaya Avtos out of, I think it's the group Moskaya. This is an interesting group with 12 Thompsons and an anti-tank grenade. I'm only throwing these on here because 12 Thompsons is disgusting. There's not many infantry squads that have 6 damage in any weapon category. We can see this blue bar is fully filled. That's really strong, really powerful. If you're using these guys, they will melt. Like normal Avto Machikis are really not that great. That's why you don't see people using them very often. These guys, on the other hand, are dangerous. These will kill enemy infantry very quickly. They're very dangerous, even though they don't even have a flamer or grenade or anything like that. These just pump out so much damage so quickly. They're very, very dangerous. So that's why I kind of put them on here. They're definitely not as cool looking as the other ones, but they're very dangerous and very niche. So what are the best of our CQC infantry in the Allies? Well, if we're going to go with actual, like, close range on top of each other combat, there's a lot of ways you can go here. I would probably have to give it to the Legionary Sapatis. Because of their fanatical trait, along with their double flamethrower, they can really last a long time and be really dangerous compared to some of these other units. The Avto Strafniki have a similar strength, but lack flamethrowers or any kind of grenades, so that definitely decreases their overall lethality. But, again, there's 15 men firing some machine guns, so they can do really quite well. Sturmoviki Rocks are very similar, but missing that fanatical trait, which can be a big deal. And like I mentioned, the Moskaya are really, really dangerous. A little bit underappreciated in terms of how deadly these guys can be. In terms of, like, generally speaking, you're definitely gaining something in the Legionary Demolition and Sapity rocks here with these actual, like, a little bit more long-range firepower, the RDT as well. You get a little bit more long-range firepower. These Oxen Bucks similar. The bonus of the Demolition group is, of course, you get a bazooka, and a bazooka is a big deal. Having that is really, really strong. So, I mean, it's really up to your own personal flavor. These guys, though, I would argue, the point of these is not to be fighting line infantry at long range. So, even if they are better at longer range, that's really not their purpose. So avoiding that is kind of preferred, I would say. I mean, I would not be running into the Panzergrenadiers with these guys at range, because it's wasting their whole potential. So yeah, so there are some of the strongest and most powerful allied CQC infantry in Steel Division 2. If you enjoyed this content, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Steel Division 2 content. Have a fantastic day.